I really miss playing Draconic Kaiser Vermilion. But what if I told you we have a deck in Narukami who's a million times better right now? Hey, what's going guys? I'm DZBT04 here. Today I am back to cover Roaring Thunder Dragon, Triumph Dragon. I'm really grateful that this week I am on leave, so I don't actually have to go to work this week. I really needed a break. I was really suffering. But I've decided to spend my first day of my leave to talk about a deck that I've personally been enjoying a lot in the pockets of spare time that I've been able to test for set 4. And that is for Roaring Thunder Dragon, Triumph Dragon in DZBT04. The quick start decks, as you already know by now, they started in January, but they've led to a lot of mixed responses because a lot of people have been wondering, were they mistakes? Was it a correct move to make? And a lot of people are unhappy about certain policies, like their vanilla policies and so on and so forth. Personally, so was I, but the more they release the quick start deck supports, I actually do feel very happy. I feel that the quick start decks are actually turning out to be very impressive decks on their own accord, either by their good direct support or their good boss changes. For example, we have the Sarevsael boss, we have the Cristiano's boss, the baby, which I may do that profile on him, but let's see. The one that's obviously the strongest by far is definitely the Astrum one, the Astrum who is now black. He's really good. Like, if you've given a look at his deck, he's even winning short tournaments, which I think is horrifying. But I today wanted to use Triumph Dragon instead as my case study on the quick start decks, because there's actually a few layers of their support we should go through. One is, since set 2, they released 2 different cyclists for the quick start decks, which I will cover in just a bit. And then secondly, we also now have tournament promos. That's right, we actually got a whole wave of tournament promos just for the quick start decks. So I did want to cover them, which is why I will be talking about all the quick start deck support in one go today. So yeah, just stay tuned for that. So we are gonna have to cover quite a fair bit in this video, so mind with me. I think the main thing I want to cover in this video is I want to talk about, are the quick start decks a failure? Because I think most people have the impression, and I certainly understand why the impression has come about, but I will talk about my response to that in a bit. So the right deck, obviously we need to talk about the energy. I think that one was pretty obvious, so we are going to talk about the right deck energy. Triumph Dragon is a deck that uses energy a lot. Energy is one of its key mechanics, because this is technically your very first DivineZ deck ever. So I will get into the energy mechanic in a bit, but let's just talk about the main deck first. Our starter, we play Spark Kid Dragoon. I believe it's a crime by law to play a non-Narukami starter for a Narukami deck. So yeah, please pick up your Spark Kid Dragoon. It's really cheap. I have like 50 of these at home because of how much I bought, of DBT11. That was a good times, man. Our grade 1, his skill is when rolled upon by Kiten Rise, which is the grade 2, you energy blast 2 and draw 1 card. And then when you're playing a Triumph Dragon, it's a 13k body. Although that skill never relevant, because you have so much better cards to play in Triumph Dragon right now. You will not need to play this card, in my opinion. But you could if you want to, and it's 13k booster and beater at that. Our grade 2 Kitten Rise is a Thunder Kitty. He's just a giant Thunder Tiger. Not sure why, but alright. His skill is when rolled upon by a grade 3 Greater Vanguard that states Triumph Dragon, you can either call this card to rearguard or energy charge 3. You always pick the energy charge 3 because you have no use for him on the board. On the board, he's a nice 15k intercept, or if you guard it from hand, it's a 15k guard. Just not bad considering this used to be pack filler, but like I said, the quick start deck bosses have evolved way further than that right now. You definitely do not need a 15k shield in Triumph Dragon of all decks. And of course, moving on to the man of the hour, we have Roaring Thunder Dragon, Triumph Dragon. I remember when I first saw his art leaked, and I was like, man, this is a really funny root flare. But he has grown on me so much. His skill is once per turn, at count blast 1, just search your deck for a copy of himself, add it to the hand, and then this unit gains 10. Alright, so it's a 23k beater, and he can search for copies of himself, which means you can clone him for your persona rights. Not bad. But then the quick start decks all have the same inherent boss skill, and the problem would be, how do you ensure you can use this skill forever. I know that sounds weird, but you will run out of Triumph Dragons in your deck eventually, right? So we will cover that in a bit. And then the second skill is when this unit attacks, energy blast 4, choose one of your opponent's rear guards to retire it, and then this unit gains 5000 power plus 1 critical. It is not grade restricted at all, which means going first against a grade 2 tanky Vanguard, you are threatening a 28k 2 crit Vanguard, which is more threatening than you think. This guy, honestly, when you build the whole deck of Triumph Dragon, you will focus on the crit pressure from himself, and then you also have crit pressure from your main grade 3 rearguard, which I'll cover in a bit, and that is of course Strafe Command Dragon. So the idea is this deck plays like Gavriel from the turn 3 onwards, where you have multiple 2 crit attacks to just threaten lethal, threaten lethal, threaten lethal, and that is really good. The problem, like I said, because it's like Gavriel, it is a 3 attack deck, which sucks. I do wonder if a restander is in order for the quick start decks. I think that would be very interesting if they all got a restander and say set 5 or set 6, but I think we'll have to see. Honestly, so far, I'm happy with their support, and you'll find out in a bit. Now, I'm gonna take a break here because I did want to talk about the energy. So here I actually have it, and I even bought a little energy counter just so we can all get used to it. Okay, so when you write the grade 1 on the grade 0, if you are going first, it doesn't matter, you have 0 energy. When you write Kit and Rise, you go up to 3 energy, and then you will pay 2 energy, so you go back to 1, and then you draw an additional card. When you write Triumph Dragon, you obviously get 3 more energy, because you start the turn. You will use Kit and Rise skill to gain 3 more energy, and then when you use Triumph skill to energy blast 4, you will go back to 3 energy. And then the thing is that every time you get an additional 3 energy, you will eventually keep going down by 1 each, because your skills cost EB 4, right? So that means by nature, you will always lose 1 energy per turn. And that also means over a period of time, you're going to run out of energy completely, and you will no longer be able to use their skill. That is the main structural weakness of the quick start deck bosses, right? The CB skill being unable to clone the Vanguard infinitely, and the energy running out of time. Today, we will talk about how Triumph Dragon has actually triumphed over both issues. So for our grade 3s, you'll be no surprise to say that I obviously play 4 copies of Triumph Dragon, and then we play 4 copies of Strafe Command Dragon. So Triumph Dragon, you've already heard me talk about it. I've already mentioned about why you need to play 4. It's a Persona Right based deck, so obviously you play 4. Right, and then we have Strafe Command Dragon. So every one of the quick start deck bosses has a side boss, which is a double rare. Oopsie daisies, I'm so sorry about that. Each one of them have a side boss, which is a grade 3 double rare from DZBT04 Destined Clash, and they all are meant to work with the respective quick start deck boss. Now, for Strafe Command, he's one of the most flexible in my opinion, and he's a really cool looking dragon. Like, he really looks like an Amber Dragon, which I really do love. So let's cover his skill then. When placed on the rearguard circle, if you have a Vanguard with Triumph Dragon in its name that's grade 3 or greater, count last 1, draw a card. It's Hanada Halfway. I cannot believe they keep printing count last 1, draw once. But you know what? Triumph Dragon totally deserves it. The second skill is that when this unit attacks, if you have a, you can Soul Blast 1, and then this unit gains 5000 power. If the card you Soul Blast out is a Triumph Dragon, which means, you Soul Blast a copy of your Vanguard out from the Soul, this unit will gain +1 crit as well, which means he is an 18k 2 crit attacker, but under the influence of Persona, obviously, he's going to hit 28k 2 crit, and that's by himself, which means if you have boosters or other things down the line, that's going to be 28k 2 crit, which is a magic number because it would demand at least 20k guard against an opponent's grade 3 Vanguard that doesn't have defensives on. Again, this is all really good and all, but this was part of the first wave of supports for the quick start deck. The question, of course, is how do you optimize Strafe Command? How do you make it your time worthwhile for the side bosses in the quick start deck? Because realistically, when you play a quick start deck fully upgraded, you have 2 bosses to play with. One that works on the Vanguard circle and one that works on the rearguard circle. And we will cover about how you support both Strafe Command and Triumph Dragon in the same deck. Moving on to our grade 2s. Our grade 2s, we play 1 Kit and Rise. This is the one from the right deck, so you don't need to feel worried. This is the same guy, so yeah, just so we're all clear. And then moving on to the rest of the grade 2s, we're going to see the return of Conflagan. He's back. we will play 4 copies of Force, and then we will play 3 copies of Russia. So let's move on to these very quickly. We've already covered Kit and Rise, so I won't talk about him anymore. Force, as of the moment of recording this video, he somehow shot up to 3,000 yen. I don't know. But he's really not bad for early game pressure. When this unit attacks hits, retire this unit, choose my opponent's rear guard to retire it, and then you draw 1 card. We're just playing this for the early game pressure. Realistically, you can play any other early game card you want in Triumph Dragon, but playing a card like Force gives you early game power and can really push. Also, by retiring, Force, it does give you an option to clear the board so that you can use it for more cards that you call eventually down the line. I know that sounds really stupid, but your board is generally quite evasive because you do want to choose when you want to call certain things, and that's especially because of Rashad. Rashad is our common support in DZBT04 Destined Clash. Generally, all the quick start decks come with 2 support cards each. One is a grade 2 common and one is a grade 1 rare that has a skill, but I'll cover them in a bit. So for the grade 2 commons for the quick start decks, to be honest, most of them are not good. However, this guy, Rashad, is one of the few that is good. The one who has the best common is Sarevsael, and I will cover an updated Sarevsael if you guys want to see that. And the way you get to say that out loud is by supporting the Sarevsael deck profile in the link in the description. If that video hits 1,000 views, I will do the update. Okay, I will, because I've already tested it. I know what it's like, but the only thing is I won't spend time to actually do a deck profile if no one actually wants to see it. So I will only do it if the link in the description below, the Sarevsael video, hits 1,000 views. I will cover it with all the same support. So the grade 1 rare from set 4, the grade 2 common, and as well as the tournament promo. But again, I'll talk about all of these later in a bit. Why is Rashad important to Triumph Dragon? As you would have seen from the thumbnail, I stated that Triumph Dragon can actually take down hostage decks, or decks that utilize the Festival Collection defensive orders to stop them from guarding from the rear guard circle. And that's because of Rashad's abilities. The first skill is, during both turns, if you have a Vanguard with Triumph Dragon, its name is grade 3 or greater, your opponent cannot move rear guards in the same column as this unit up and down, or to the Guardian Circle. This basically means that it's very similar to the Grayon? The deleter, the VR deleter. Docking deleter Grayon. Is it Grayon or Grayon? I can't remember. But basically what that means is if you call Rashad to the same column as, say, a grade 2 rear guard, right, he can't intercept. Neither can he move down, because Rashad just prevents them from moving. So you can't move them across rear guards, you can't move them to Guardian Circle, they're just locked there. And while at first glance this seems really stupid, you may go, but Ahmed, why do I care about this common card that just does that? Well, it's also because it plays a lot like OG Narukami. The original Narukami in set 6, BT06 Break of Limits, did have effects like this, which lock down opponent intercepts, which allowed cards like Draconic Kaiser Vermilion to just finish the game. Very similarly, you will play this in the exact same fashion, and it's a continuous effect, which means you don't even have to wait for long plays. You could have this guy around on turn 2, and then ride Triumph Dragon turn 3, and then his abilities turn up online. That is really good flexibility for a common. Like, I don't think we highlight that enough. That's really good. Again, this card is really really niche in the sense that you only really get this card to shine in the hostage matchup. But I think in general, normal games, he's still pretty alright, but he's played at 3 for a reason. You like him, but not very much. The second skill is every time your opponent's rear guard is retired, if your Vanguard is a grade 3, you get the Triumph Dragon, this unit gains 5. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy. It's just a free beat stick-ish. But we don't have that many retires in this deck, so we don't really get a +5 very often. But if you were playing a more retire-heavy Triumph Dragon, this is a skill that will scale very well. All in all, this is a very good support for Triumph Dragon, but he is the exception to the norm. Most of the quick start decks do not get commons this good. And last but not least, we have Conflagun. Conflagun is our regular set 10 cycle card, which is, when it's discarded from right during the turn, you Soul Blast 1 and bot deck this card and draw a card. Very simple, very good. And then when placed on the rearguard circle, if you Persona right this turn, count as 1, retire all of your opponent's rearguards in the same column as this. It works a brilliant charm with Triumph Dragon. You use this early on to empty your soul to just draw as many cards as possible in the early game, and then in the late game when he's recycled, you can just use him on Persona right to just chop down a whole column. And that, generally speaking, will give cards like Rashad an additional 10,000 power. It's just that good. Conflagrant is probably the most expensive card in his deck though, but he has been dropping in price quite a fair bit, at least on Yurite. So I would say that if you want to play Triumph Dragon at a higher level, or at least at a decent enough level, you should pick up Conflagrant. But if you can't afford him, I don't believe he's the end of the world. Besides, this is probably the only generic that Triumph Dragon really needs. Yeah. Now, to talk about the more spicy stuff is the Great Ones. The Great Ones, we obviously play our right line from the Great One. Again, nothing special, you already know him, I've talked about him just now. And then here we play 4 copies of Amina. She's the rare from set 4, I'll cover her in a bit. 4 of our tournament promo, say hi to Construct Golem. We play 4 Balania, and then we play 4 Perfect Guard. A lot of Great Ones because I'm playing a very aggressive game. The point of my deck is to really push, swarm, and beat as fast as possible so that when I reach turn 3, my 2 crit attacks are very devastating. And because this is Dragon Empire, I have all the early game to facilitate that. So Perfect Guard, we've already covered. Balania is, at the end of battle, this unit boosts. If anyone's rear guards have retired this turn, bind this card, face down, draw a card. It's Garniva support, but it's basically Painkiller Angel on steroids, so you just flip it for free draw, flip it for free draw, flip it for a draw. It's really good, it's very effective in channeling an early game. There's a reason why Balania was used in a lot of decks early on, and I certainly won't deny it. I still think this card's really good, so if you want to play aggressively in the early game, this is definitely something you look out for. Now, I'm going to talk first about the set for main support, so I will start off with her. All of the quick start decks have a clone of this. When placed on the rearguard circle, if you have a copy of your quick start deck boss in the drop zone, you can target that card. If you target that card, you may put it at the bottom of your deck. Then you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to one of your grade 3 double rare from set 1, and then you can add it to your hand if you find it in the top 5, and if you do, discard a card and it gains 2,000 power. A lot of text at one go, but this is assuming you've never read these cards before, so I'm trying my best to just summarize it for you. So, by having a copy of your quick start deck boss in the drop zone, when placed on a rearguard circle, you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck for the rearguard that you are looking for. And if you are successful, you can just add it to your hand, and then you need to discard one because it's a net 0, and then it gains 2,000 power. It doesn't gain the 2,000 power if you fail the search. However, the idea is that you are looking for such a key piece already, it's still pretty good of a searcher. I mean, how many of your decks can say you even have a searcher of this capacity? Secondly, this card serves a double purpose because when you target the grade 3 quick start deck boss in the drop zone, you have an option to actually put it to the bottom of your deck. This means you can actually recycle your quick start deck bosses that you keep, cloning and cloning and cloning. Now you can just use this girl's skill to tuck them to the bottom of the deck, and then you can Counter Blast 1 and add it back to your hand. That's really good. That gives you a lot of longevity that you traditionally wouldn't see in Bushido design. Like, why are they doing this? I don't know. I know what a lot of you are asking. Didn't we already get cyclers for the quick start deck bosses to go back to the deck? Yes, we did. In set 2, we got a lot of them. We got 6 of them each, one for each quick start deck. The issue I have with the cyclers from set 2 is right now they're way too slow. They rely on you persona riding and being on the grade 3 boss already, then you tuck the copy of the boss you just so blasted back to the deck. That is just really slow and not effective. Where else for the upgraded searchers, I would say, for the new cyclers of set 4, they can use their skills early as turn 1. I cannot explain how good that is because when you play decks like the quick start deck, you generally may clock on extra copies of your persona. Now you can just discard them, tuck them back to the deck, search them up. It's really effective, it is really good, and you can use this without any regret from turn 1 onwards. It's a real shame that not enough people are talking about these cards because I really feel that they are really good to keep the quick start decks somewhat relevant. And I know what you may be saying, This sounds like a lot of bullshit. I understand, because now I want to talk about the real star of the show, your tournament promos. That's right, quick start decks have tournament promos. You now have to beat kids up who are playing the kids decks for upgrades for your kid deck. Yeah, all of them, all 6 promos to my knowledge. I think tonight they just revealed the Cristiano's promo. All 6 of them have the same skill, which is that when your grade 3 quick start deck boss is placed, when this card's in the drop zone and you do not have a card of the same name on the board, you can Soul Blast 1 and call this card out from the drop zone, and if you do, energy charge 1. Why is this effect so revolutionary? As I mentioned previously with Triumph Dragon, as you reach the energy, every time you pay the cost, you are dropping from 4 to 3 to 2 to 1 to 0 over a period of time, because you gain 3 energy per turn, but then you're forced to spend 4. So no matter what, you are always going to be at a 1 deficit turn after turn. This completely changes that by having a copy of this card, Construct Golem, or any one of your quick start deck promos in the drop zone. By superior calling them, you get a free energy charge, which means that for that turn, your Vanguard's ability is effectively costless. I can't believe it. It seems like a custom card. It's costless, my guy. That's really good. It's a free 8k beater that comes back from the dead when you just place your quick start deck Vanguard, which is every turn because you clone it. Like, how much more direct support do you guys want at this point? This is so good. The second skill though is to help it get moving. At the end of the battle, that this boosts the double rare grade 1 side boss, like I mentioned. So in this deck, it is Strafe Command. So at the end of the battle, it boosts Strafe Command. If you have not countercharged this turn, move this unit to the soul, countercharge 1. So you can kind of understand how this works. If this card's in the drop zone, you call it back out to the field. And then afterwards, when it ends the battle, it boosts the Strafe Command unit, you move it to the soul, and then you countercharge 1. If you have a second copy of the drop zone, you can Soul Blast it out, and then you can call this card to the rearguard circle, and then if you haven't countercharged it, then you move this soul and countercharge 1, and then after that, you superior call this card when you ride your Triumph Dragon, and you call this out from the soul, and then after that, in the battle it boosts, you move to the soul, and then you pay it for a Soul Blast 1. It loops over and over and over, and all you need are just 2 copies of this promo in circulation, either your soul or your drop on your board, and you can get this going very effectively. I cannot stress how grateful I am they even printed something like this, and this is applicable, by the way, to all 6 quick start decks. Even Osara Jess's quick start deck tournament promo is really, really good. So honestly, if you are a quick start deck player and you want to play your deck in a higher capacity, definitely look out for these guys in the tournament runs, because they are 1000% worth your time. However, usual disclaimer, because these are tournament promos, you do need to work for them. So yeah, last but not least, our grade zeros we play this guy, Sparky Dragoon. You know why I'm playing him, because I am very, very homesick. I want to play more Narukami, but Narukami is just bad in this format. Sorry, bad everywhere. We have 8 crits, because obviously you want to win the game. 3 effect draws, we need pieces, 4 heals, 1 drop Veda. I think these were all very inferable options, so I will not be discussing them much further. And yes, that wraps up my Triumph Dragon deck profile for DZBT04. Or in other terms, this is also my summary for the quick start deck modern support. Now, I do plan to cover more of the quick start decks in the style of this support, so definitely stuff like Sarevsael, Cristianos, I'm definitely keeping an eye on them. I definitely would want to review them in the future to talk about how their support has upgraded them so far. But today is a teaser. Today, I just wanted to show you guys a modern update on quick start decks 9 months later. It's been 9 months, and we do get a lot of varying support. I think the number one question that is on everyone's mind by the time this video comes out is, are these supports worth it? Do you actually gain anything from supporting your quick start decks? And I definitely think that the answer is a conditional yes. Is it worth to keep playing your quick start decks? Yes, if you enjoy them. If you enjoy this style of decks, if you enjoy playing like a cheap underdog deck, or more rather, if you just enjoy infinite personas or some of the card arts or aesthetics, or even just the basic mechanic like crit gaining or multi-attacking from draw without being resurrect, or just anything in general, like, you know, Astrum and Black. Like, if you enjoy the arts or the skills or just the cards in general, or maybe this was your first ever deck, welcome. And I do hope you enjoy playing these decks because it is still quite meaningful to update it. However, it is clearly not for everyone. I don't think quick start decks are like the main ways you get people to play a nation. I don't think quick start decks are the main ways you wanna, you know, play all the nations even. I think learning this formula once and trying it, I think it's pretty worthwhile and fun. But you are not obligated by any means to keep playing any of the 6. Although personally, again, as a Narukami player, I find this deck way more powerful than the Gothic Kaiser Vermilion. So I will keep playing it for a while. But I think the fact still remains that, is it worthwhile? I would say yes if you're dedicated to the deck. If you're just playing this as a casual, if you were just playing this as a 1-2 week thing and you're not really interested in the quick start deck, I'll say just put down the deck and move on. Just go back and play something else. I don't think you lose out much. But if you are a fan of it, if you enjoy it, then I would definitely encourage you to keep playing it, because I do think it's worthwhile when you spend enough time with it, and it really is quite fun. As you can see, most of the skills here aren't just pack fodder or stupid waste of space. They have meaningful interactions and good enough synergy that you would consider playing this at least the local tournament. I definitely wouldn't suspect seeing any of these at a WGP, but you know, at least something like your own fun regulars with your kids. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Take care.